It's 11 p.m. on a Tuesday and the power goes out. You check your phone and there's no signal. You look out the window and the whole neighborhood is dark. Every house, every street light, total blackout. What's the first thing you do? If your answer is, turn on my flashlight and check the breaker box, congratulations, you just made security error number 1. You just announced to every person within 200 yards that your house has power, resources, and someone home who's not in control of the situation. You just painted a target on your home that says, unprepared amateur with supplies worth taking. Let me ask you something. When the grid dies and stays dead, what kills you first? Starvation? Thirst? Disease? Wrong. What kills you first is the security mistakes you make in the first 48 hours. Before you run out of food, before your water storage depletes, before disease becomes a factor. You die because you advertised that you had resources worth taking, and someone took them along with your life. I'm going to show you the 8 deadly security errors that people make within hours of a grid down event. These aren't theoretical. These are pattern-based predictions built on human behavior analysis, infrastructure failure understanding, and historical collapse data. Every single one of these errors has killed people in past disasters, and every single one will kill people in the next one. The terrifying part? Most of these errors feel like the right thing to do in the moment. They're instinctive responses, comfort-seeking behaviors. Normal peacetime logic applied to a situation where peacetime rules no longer exist. They feel safe, they feel smart, and they'll get you killed. 99% of people will make at least 5 of these 8 errors within the first 24 hours. The prepared ones, the ones who've thought about this scenario, they'll still make 2 or 3. Because security thinking in a collapse scenario is counterintuitive. It goes against every social instinct you've developed in a functioning civilization, and when the grid dies, those civilized instincts become liability instead of asset. So here's your choice right now, before the lights go out. You can keep scrolling and trust your instincts when the crisis hits, or you can spend the next 18 minutes learning what not to do when your family's survival depends on operational security. Let's get tactical. Before we break down the 8 deadly errors, you need to understand the foundation of collapse security. Rule 0. Visibility equals vulnerability. In peacetime, visibility equals security. Lit houses are occupied houses. Occupied houses are less likely to be burglarized. Exterior lighting deters criminals because criminals want to operate unseen. That's peacetime logic. It works when functional police exist, when 911 works, when consequences exist for violence. In grid-down collapse, that logic inverts completely. Visibility equals target identification. Light means power. Power means generators. Generators mean fuel storage. Fuel storage means resources. Resources mean you have other supplies worth taking. Every photon you emit is intelligence you're giving to potential threats. And in a collapse scenario, everyone is a potential threat until proven otherwise. The security timeline works like this. Hours 0 to 6, most people are still in denial. They're checking phones, talking to neighbors, waiting for power restoration. Threat level is minimal because desperation hasn't set in. Hour 6 to 24, reality acceptance begins. People start securing resources, boarding windows, maybe getting aggressive at stores. Threat level rises but remains mostly non-violent. Hour 24 to 48, the unprepared become desperate. Food runs out, water runs out. That's when home invasions start. That's when violence becomes the primary resource acquisition method. And here's the critical factor. The people conducting those invasions aren't random. They're observant. They've been watching for the first 24 hours. They've seen which houses have lights, which houses have cooking smells, which houses have people coming and going with supplies. They've been gathering intelligence while you've been making errors. And on hour 25, hour 30, hour 36, they're going to act on that intelligence. Your security strategy has to begin at hour 0, not hour 24 when threats are imminent. Hour 0, the second the power dies. Because every error you make in those first hours creates intelligence that determines whether you're a target later. Every mistake is cataloged by people who are hungry, desperate, and willing to use violence. Let's break down the 8 ways you're going to get yourself killed. Security error. Alpha. Light discipline failure. This is the error almost everyone makes within 60 seconds of power loss. The power dies. You're sitting in sudden darkness. Your immediate instinct is to restore light. Flashlight, candles, lantern, whatever you have. You click it on and immediately you feel better. The darkness is pushed back. You can see your surroundings. Comfort restored. Security error committed. Here's what you just did. You created a light signature visible from outside your home. If you're near a window, that light is broadcasting like a beacon. Even if you're not directly near a window, interior light bleeds through curtains, reflects off walls, creates a glow that's visible from the street. In a neighborhood that's completely dark, any light source is immediately obvious. It draws the eye. It marks your location. It announces your presence. The psychology of light in darkness is hardwired. Humans are attracted to light sources. It represents safety, warmth, other humans, resources. When everything is dark and one house has light, that house becomes the psychological center of the neighborhood. Everyone sees it. Everyone notices it. Everyone wonders why that house has power when nobody else does. In the first 6 hours, that might just mean curious neighbors knocking on your door asking questions. By hour 12, it means aggressive people demanding you share resources. By hour 24, it means organized groups planning to take those resources by force. The correct response to power loss is immediate light discipline. No lights. Period. Let your eyes adjust to available ambient light. Moonlight, starlight, distant fires. Your eyes can adapt to surprisingly low light levels if you give them 20 to 30 minutes. You won't have perfect vision, but you'll have functional movement capability without creating a light signature. If you absolutely must have light for a specific task, use red spectrum LEDs behind multiple layers of light discipline. Red light preserves night vision and is less visible from distance. Point it down, never toward windows. Use it in interior rooms with closed doors. Minimize duration. Every second of light is risk. But here's the reality. Most people can't handle darkness. It's psychologically uncomfortable. They'll rationalize why they need light. Just for a minute. Just to find supplies. Just to check the kids. And each rationalization is another intelligence leak. Another data point for the people outside watching which houses have resources. The mathematics are simple. If 100 houses are dark and one house has light, that one house is the obvious target for resource-seeking behavior. You want to be one of the 100 dark houses, indistinguishable from abandoned or depleted homes. You don't want to be the one lit target announcing you have power, supplies, and poor security awareness. Practice darkness right now. Tonight. Turn off all lights in your home and navigate by ambient light only. Learn where furniture is. Learn safe pathways. Train your family to move without light. Because when the grid dies, light discipline isn't optional. It's survival. Security error. Bravo. Generator noise signature. This error is specific to people who actually prepared. You bought a generator. Good. You stored fuel. Excellent. The power goes out and you fire up your generator to maintain refrigeration, charge devices, maybe run a few lights. Catastrophic security failure. Generators are loud, even the quiet ones. In normal times, that noise blends into ambient environmental sound. Traffic, air conditioning units, lawn mowers, construction. But in a grid-down scenario, the ambient sound disappears. No traffic. No AC units. No industrial noise. Total silence except natural sounds. Wind. Animals. Distant human activity. In that silence, a generator running is audible from blocks away. The mechanical drone carries through still air like a signal flare. Everyone within half a mile knows someone has a generator, and everyone knows generators mean fuel, which means resources, which means that person prepared, which means they probably have food, water, medicine, other supplies. You just announced to every desperate person in a half-mile radius that you're a high-value target, and you're going to keep announcing it for however many hours per day you run that generator. Here's the tactical reality about generators in collapse scenarios. They're only useful if nobody knows you have them. That means sound baffling, exhaust routing, location concealment. You need the generator in a basement or interior space with sound-dampening materials. You need exhaust vented through complex routing to disperse heat and smell. You need to run it only during specific windows when ambient noise is highest, but most people just put the generator on their back patio or in their garage with the door open and let it run. Maximum convenience, maximum noise signature, minimum operational security. And within 48 hours, they're dealing with aggressive visitors who heard that generator and came to investigate. The alternative is to not run the generator at all. Treat it as last resort emergency backup for critical medical equipment or final evacuation preparation. Accept that refrigeration is lost. Food spoils. Darkness is permanent. Because running a generator in a grid-down scenario is like firing a signal flare every hour announcing your location and resources. Or here's the even darker option. Wait until week 2 when everyone else's generators have run out of fuel and gone silent. Then, maybe in limited tactical windows, you run yours for specific critical tasks. By week 2, the audible signature is less dangerous because most observers are dead, relocated, or too weak to act on the intelligence. But in week 1, generator noise is a death sentence. If you have a generator, have sound discipline. If you don't have sound discipline capability, don't run the generator. Simple as that. Security error. Charlie, cooking smell signature. Related to light and sound discipline, but subtler and more dangerous because people don't think about it. It's day 3 of the blackout. You're hungry. You've got canned food, but you want something hot, something cooked, something that feels like normal life. So you fire up your camp stove or charcoal grill and cook a meal. The smell of cooking meat, vegetables, coffee, whatever you're preparing, drifts through your neighborhood on the breeze. What happens next? Every person within a block radius smells that food. And they haven't eaten hot food in 3 days. They're hungry, maybe starving. Their kids are hungry. They smell your bacon, your coffee, your stew. And they know exactly which house it's coming from because smell has directionality. Follow the scent to the source. In peacetime, that means neighbors are jealous or annoyed. In collapse, that means neighbors become threats. Because that smell is intelligence. It tells them you have food when they don't. It tells them you have cooking fuel when they don't. It tells them you're comfortable enough to cook hot meals while everyone else is eating cold canned goods or nothing at all. The human response to food scent when hungry is nearly involuntary. It triggers hunger response, saliva production, focus narrowing. It creates desire that overrides rational thinking. People who wouldn't normally consider theft or violence start justifying it. My kids are hungry. They clearly have enough to share. It's not fair they have food and we don't. And here's what makes this error particularly dangerous. You don't know you're making it. You're inside your house. You can't smell what you're projecting outside. You think you're being careful. But the guy 3 houses down is standing in his yard smelling your dinner and making a list of houses to visit when desperation overrides restraint. The tactical solution is cold food only. No cooking. No heating. Canned goods consumed at room temperature. Jerky, crackers, dried fruit. Foods that require 0 preparation and produce 0 signature. It's uncomfortable. It's unappetizing. It's survival. If you absolutely must have hot food, pressure cook in an interior sealed room with exhaust management. That means bathroom with door sealed, exhaust fan vented through complex routing, minimal cooking time. And only for critical morale or medical reasons. Because every meal you cook is intelligence you're broadcasting. Here's the test. Before you cook anything, go outside and walk around your property. Can you smell anything? If yes, everyone else can too. If you can't verify 0 scent projection, don't cook. That's simple. Your comfort food is not worth the security compromise. Most people will violate this within 72 hours because cold canned food is miserable, and cooking feels safe when you're inside your home with the door locked. It's not safe. It's a targeting beacon for everyone who's hungry and observing which houses have food resources. Security error. Delta. Social media and communications operational security failure. This one happens before the grid even dies. You're a prepared person. You've been stocking food, water, supplies. Maybe you post about it on social media. Photos of your prepper pantry, comments about your generator, discussions about your security plans. You're proud of your preparation. You want to encourage others. Maybe you're in prepper forums or Facebook groups sharing advice and inventory. Every word you post is intelligence collection for potential threats. Every photo reveals your preparation level. Every comment identifies you as a high-value target. Here's what people don't understand about operational security. Information lives forever. That post you made 6 months ago about your year supply of food, someone in your social network saw it. Maybe they screenshotted it. Maybe they just remembered it. And when the grid dies and they're hungry, they remember that you posted about having massive food storage. They know your address from other posts. They know you're probably home. They know you have what they need. Social media is intelligence infrastructure for threat assessment. In peacetime, it's social connection. In collapse, it's target identification database. Everyone who posted about preparedness just created a shopping list for desperate people. This person has food. This person has water. This person has fuel. This person is worth visiting. The same applies to communications during grid down. If cell service is intermittent or if you're using radio communications, operational security requires assuming every transmission is intercepted. You don't discuss your supplies over radio. You don't confirm your location. You don't reveal your defensive capabilities or vulnerabilities. You assume hostile intelligence is listening and cataloging everything you say. The correct approach is communication silence or heavily coded messages. Prearranged codes that mean nothing to outside listeners but convey necessary information to your group. The packages arrived means you secured supplies. Uncle Charlie is visiting means threat detected. We're having the old dinner means bug-out plan activation. Nothing explicit, nothing actionable for intercepting parties. But most people treat communications like peacetime. They're explicit, detailed, unguarded. They confirm addresses. They discuss inventory. They reveal plans. And everyone listening is collecting that intelligence for potential use. Delete your social media preparedness history right now, today. Every post about supplies, security, preparation. Wipe it. Make your profile look like you're as unprepared as everyone else. Because when collapse comes, you want to be invisible. And invisibility starts with information control long before the crisis begins. Security error. Echo. Helping neighbors and charity visibility. This is the error good people make because they're good people. It's day 4. Your neighbor knocks on your door. They're hungry. Their kids are hungry. They know you might have food because you've always been responsible, prepared. They're asking for help. If you help them, if you give them food, you've just confirmed to them and everyone who sees the transaction that you have resources to spare. And desperation spreads information faster than any communications network. Within hours, everyone in a 3-block radius knows you're giving out food. Tomorrow you'll have 20 people at your door. Next week, 100. And when you run out or refuse, some of those people will take by force what you won't give willingly. The moral calculus of charity and collapse is brutal. You have X amount of food. You have Y family members to feed. That gives you Z days of survival. Every person you feed reduces Z. Help 10 people, and your 6-month supply becomes a 1-month supply. Then what? You've killed your own family to help strangers who will need help again tomorrow and the day after. Here's the dark truth about charity and systemic collapse. Kindness becomes vulnerability. Generosity becomes targeting intelligence. The people you help today become the people who raid you tomorrow when you have nothing left to give, because you taught them you have resources. You taught them where those resources are stored. You taught them you're willing to give rather than defend. All of that is intelligence they'll use against you. The survival rational choice is to refuse help, appear as desperate as everyone else. We're out of food too. We're barely surviving ourselves. I wish I could help, but we have nothing. Make your exterior appearance match that story. No lights, no cooking smells, no generator noise, no signs of preparation or resources. If you're emotionally incapable of refusing help, then you must help invisibly, after dark, in concealed locations, with trusted individuals who will maintain operational security, small amounts that don't reveal your full preparation level, and never, ever at your home where the transaction can be observed by others. But most people can't do this. They help openly, they give visibly, they advertise their resources through charity, and they become targets within days. Because in collapse, targeting intelligence is survival intelligence. The house giving out food is the house with food storage, and food storage is worth killing for when the alternative is starvation. This error will kill more prepared people than any other single mistake, because it's the error good people make. It goes against every social instinct we've developed in functioning civilization. But functioning civilization is dead when the grid dies, and the moral rules that worked in civilization will get you killed in collapse. Security error, foxtrot, defensive perimeter, visibility. You've hardened your home. Reinforced doors, window security film, defensive positions prepared. You did this before the crisis or immediately after, and every reinforcement you made is visible from the street. What you just did is advertise that you're expecting threats and you have something worth defending. You took the house that might have looked empty or depleted and turned it into the house that screams valuable resources inside, defended by someone who prepared. In peacetime, visible security deters casual criminals who want easy targets. In collapse, visible security identifies high-value targets worth organizing against. Because if you went to the effort and expense to reinforce your home before the crisis, you clearly have resources worth protecting. And organized groups with weapons and numbers can defeat individual defensive positions given planning and willingness to accept casualties. The correct approach is defensive architecture that's invisible from outside. Interior door reinforcements. Window security film that looks like regular glass. Defensive positions that don't require sandbags or visible barriers. Your home should look abandoned or depleted from outside while being defensible from inside. If you must have external security, make it look like looter damage or decay rather than defensive preparation. Broken windows that are actually behind security film. Spray paint graffiti indicating the house has already been raided. Trash and apparent disarray. The goal is to look like a house that's already been hit, already emptied, not worth investigating, while internally maintaining full defensive capability. But most prepared people do the opposite. They make their defenses obvious. Sandbags at windows, plywood reinforcements, perimeter barriers, signs warning potential intruders. They think they're showing strength. They're actually creating target identification. The best security in collapse is looking worthless. If raiders think your house is empty, they'll choose a different target. And in a neighborhood full of houses, they'll go after the ones that look occupied and defended because occupied means resources. Your goal is to be the house they walk past without a second look because it appears to have nothing worth taking. Practice creating that appearance right now. How would you make your home look looted and empty while maintaining interior security? That's not paranoia. That's operational security based on understanding how targeting decisions get made in resource-scarce, violent environments. Security error, golf, family and personal appearance, operational security. Your family looks well-fed, clean, healthy. You're maintaining hygiene. You're maintaining nutrition. You're maintaining normal appearance. Meanwhile, everyone else in your neighborhood is showing visible signs of deprivation. Weight loss, poor hygiene, sickness, desperation. The contrast identifies you as someone with resources. Clean clothes mean you have water for washing. Healthy appearance means you have adequate food. Good hygiene means you have soap and sanitation resources. All of that is observable intelligence that marks you as a high-value target. The operational security requirement is to match your external appearance to the neighborhood baseline. If everyone is dirty, be dirty. If everyone is losing weight, appear to be losing weight. If everyone looks desperate, look desperate. Your external presentation should suggest you're barely surviving like everyone else, even if you're maintaining full nutrition and hygiene internally. This extends to clothing. Don't wear clean, new, or high-quality gear when moving outside your home. Worn, dirty, damaged clothing that matches the neighborhood desperation level. You can maintain clean clothes inside for morale and hygiene, but external presentation must match external threat environment. The same applies to children. Kids who look healthy and happy announce that parents have resources. Train your family to look tired, hungry, deprived when outside. That's not abuse. That's camouflage. That's the difference between being targeted and being overlooked. Most people won't do this because maintaining normal appearance feels important for mental health and dignity. It is important, but it's less important than not being identified as a resource target. Internal appearance and morale can be maintained. External appearance must be strategic camouflage. Security error hotel, bug out visibility and timing. You've decided to evacuate. Smart decision in many scenarios. You load your vehicle with supplies, family, and gear. You do this during daylight, in view of neighbors, and you drive away on primary roads during peak traffic. Every element of that evacuation was a security failure. Loading during daylight means everyone sees what you're taking. They see you have supplies. They see you're leaving. They see your vehicle is full of resources. Some of those observers might decide to follow you, Or they might just remember that you had supplies worth taking and come back to raid your now empty home. Or they might block your evacuation route and take your supplies directly. The correct bug-out procedure is darkness, speed, and misdirection. Load your vehicle in darkness with no lights or minimal red lights. Pre-position supplies in the vehicle over days before evacuation, so the final load is minimal and fast. Leave in darkness using secondary routes, not primary highways, and leave before desperation reaches critical mass, ideally within the first 12 hours of grid failure. But most people wait to see if the situation improves. They evacuate on day 3 or 4 when highways are parking lots and every vehicle is a target for hijacking. They load openly in daylight because they're not thinking about security, they're thinking about logistics, and they become easy targets for organized groups monitoring evacuation routes. If you're committed to bugging out, do it immediately, or don't do it at all. Hour 0 to 6 is your window for safe evacuation. After that, you're competing with everyone else who made the same decision, and the routes become impassable. After hour 24, bug out becomes suicide unless you're willing to travel exclusively off-road through wilderness routes. Your bug out plan should be executable in under 30 minutes from decision to departure. Vehicle preloaded. Route pre-planned with multiple alternatives. Execution in darkness with 0 external visibility. Anything longer than 30 minutes gives observers time to act on intelligence. Anything visible gives them intelligence to act on. Now let's talk about how these 8 errors combine to create catastrophic security failure cascades. Because making one error is dangerous. Making multiple errors is fatal. You violate light discipline, so observers know your house has power. You run a generator so they know you have fuel and resources. You cook meals so they know you have food. You help neighbors so they confirm you have supplies to share. You have visible defenses so they know you're defending something valuable. Each error independently is bad. Combined, they create a complete intelligence profile that identifies you as the highest value target in your neighborhood. The people observing aren't stupid. They're hungry, desperate, and strategic. They're collecting data points. House with lights, plus house with generator noise, plus house with cooking smells, plus house helping neighbors equals house with major resource stockpile. That's the house worth organizing against. That's the house worth accepting casualties to raid. Because the payoff is survival resources for days or weeks. And here's the terrifying part. You won't know they're watching until they act. The observation phase is passive, invisible, low risk. They're just people standing in their yards, walking down the street, looking out their windows, gathering intelligence, planning, waiting for the right moment when you're vulnerable or distracted. The attack comes when you least expect it because they've been watching your patterns. They know when you're awake, when you sleep, when you're most vulnerable. They know your defensive capabilities from watching your preparations. They know your family composition. They know everything about you because you gave them that intelligence through security errors. The only defense against observation-based targeting is making yourself an unattractive target through perfect operational security. 0 light, 0 sound, 0 smell, 0 visibility, 0 charity, 0 external indicators of resources or preparation. You become a house that looks exactly like every other depleted house in the neighborhood, and when raiders make target selection, they choose the houses with indicators, not the houses that look empty. But achieving that requires discipline that most people don't have. It requires accepting discomfort, cold food, darkness, isolation, no helping others, appearing deprived even when you're not. It goes against every instinct for comfort and community, and that's why 99% of prepared people will violate operational security within 48 hours. Because the psychological cost of perfect security is higher than most people can sustain. Here's the final reality about security errors in grid-down scenarios. You only get one mistake. One error might get you raided, one raid might get you killed. There's no second chances, no do-overs. No opportunity to learn from mistakes because the mistake is fatal. In peacetime, security errors have minor consequences. Someone steals your package, someone breaks into your car. Annoying, but not life-threatening. In collapse, security errors have permanent consequences. You advertise resources, you get raided. You get raided, you lose resources. You lose resources, you and your family starve or get killed defending what's left. The timeline for security error consequences is fast. You make the error in hour 6, someone observes in hour 7. They plan in hour 12, they act in hour 24. By hour 36, you're dealing with violent threats that exist because of your security failures. You don't have days or weeks to figure out security, you have hours. And the learning curve is binary. Either you get it right immediately, or you die. Most people's security thinking comes from movies and television, fortified compounds, visible defenses, dramatic confrontations. That's entertainment, not operational security. Real security in collapse is boring. It's sitting in the dark doing nothing. It's eating cold food quietly. It's looking poor when you're not. It's turning away people who need help. It's invisibility, not intimidation. The prepared survivor isn't the one with the biggest guns or the most obvious fortress. It's the one nobody noticed. The one who looked as depleted and desperate as everyone else while maintaining resources internally. The one who made zero security errors because they understood that in collapse, visibility equals death. You're at the decision point. What are you going to do with this information? You can hope you'll remember these 8 errors when the power dies. You can trust your instincts and peacetime logic. You can plan to figure it out in the moment when stress and fear are maximum. Or you can drill operational security right now, today, before the crisis. Start tonight. Practice light discipline. Turn off all lights and navigate your home by ambient moonlight for 2 hours. Learn where furniture is. Train your eyes to adapt. Build the muscle memory of darkness operation. Because when the grid dies, you need that to be automatic, not something you're figuring out while making mistakes. Practice cold food meals. Eat canned goods without heating for 3 days. Experience the discomfort. Adapt to it. Learn what foods are tolerable cold and what aren't. Because you need to know this before you're doing it under threat conditions. Audit your external visibility. Walk your neighborhood at night and observe which houses are creating light signatures, sound signatures, smell signatures. Learn what operational security failures look like from outside. Then audit your own home. What intelligence are you leaking? What signatures are you creating? Fix them now before they matter. Review your social media. Delete every post about preparedness, supplies, security. Scrub your digital footprint. Make yourself look unprepared online so you're not identified as a target before the crisis even begins. Plan your bug out with security as the primary factor, not speed or comfort. Preload vehicles. Map secondary routes. Schedule darkness-only movement. Build the plan around invisibility and timing, not just reaching a destination. That's not paranoia. That's operational security, based on understanding how resource targeting works in collapse scenarios. The people who survive aren't the ones with the most supplies. They're the ones who protect those supplies through perfect operational security that makes them invisible to threats. 99% of people won't do this. They'll read this information, think it makes sense, and never take action until the power dies. Then they'll make 3 or 4 of these errors within the first 24 hours because they're operating on instinct and peacetime logic. And by hour 48, they'll be dealing with violent consequences they could have prevented. You're different. You're the person watching content about security errors and operational security failure analysis. You're thinking about scenarios most people dismiss. That means you have the psychological capacity to prioritize security over comfort. The question is whether you'll actually implement that capacity before the crisis, or whether you'll wait until you're learning under fire. When the power dies, you'll have about 90 minutes before most people panic. In those 90 minutes, you can implement light discipline, sound discipline, and operational security while everyone else is still checking their phones and hoping for restoration. That's your window. That's when operational security advantage matters most. But if you make even one of these 8 errors, if you turn on a flashlight near a window or run your generator or cook a hot meal or help a neighbor visibly, you've started the intelligence cascade that makes you a target. And once you're identified as a target, perfect security after that point doesn't erase the intelligence already collected. The only way to survive the security timeline is 0 errors from hour 0, not almost 0, 0. Because in collapse, close enough isn't good enough. Close enough gets you killed. Only perfect operational security creates the invisibility that lets you survive while others become targets. So here's your choice right now, in this moment. You can go back to your normal life and hope you'll remember these 8 deadly errors when the power dies. Or you can start drilling security discipline tonight and every night until it's automatic. The 8 deadly errors will kill most prepared people within the first week of collapse, not because they didn't have supplies, Because they advertise those supplies through security failures, light, sound, smell, charity, visibility, communications, appearance, timing, 8 ways to die, 8 ways to turn your preparation into target identification. Don't be visible. Don't be comfortable. Don't be charitable. Don't be trusting. Be invisible. Be disciplined. Be alive. That's operational security in collapsed scenarios. Class dismissed.